By the time Mark Brooks was 5 years old, he had already learned a painful lesson. Home was not a safe place.
He would blow up, and I mean, within seconds, he would just knock everything off a table or hit my mom or something. There was a lot of physical and mental abuse. Midway through the night when he was drunk, we could be laying in bed, and the next thing you know, you'd see your mother go drugged by a door, you know, or her head busted against a mirror or something.
He hung out with older kids, and most of them did drugs. By the time Mark was 8, he was smoking pot, and soon he was hooked on other drugs.
Everything I've ever touched has been an addiction. Everything. Cigarettes, drinking, smoking, everything. Crank, meth, pot, the whole 9 yards.
As the years went by, Mark plunged further into drugs and began selling acid. His life was one big party.
When I got into drugs in my teen years, I began to get worse into them. You know, just stronger, doing acid, being away from home for 2 and 3 weeks at a time, not coming home.
He tried to get better and even checked into a treatment center, but nothing worked. During that time, he got married and had a daughter, but he was so addicted to drugs, he couldn't take care of his family. His wife took the baby and moved to Georgia.
She didn't want me part of the life because of the drugging and the alcohol and everything that I was doing.
So Mark signed over his rights to his little girl.
I really felt like I was doing the right thing because of how bad I felt about myself. I was totally a drug addict and alcoholic, and I didn't want her living that life.
Mark later began dating a woman named Lori. She had gone to church growing up, but now she loved to party.
We started drinking and partying together. I hid the drugs from her for a couple of years. And then after we were together for a while, you know, I started getting her into meth and ice and smoking pot and everything else.
The two got married, but Mark was still dealing, and they were always on the run from the police.
The paranoia got really bad because we were running so much dope. I mean, we were selling it outside of motel rooms. We would, in the middle of the night, have to pack up everything, whether we had been warned that the cops were looking at us, so we would pack up our entire house and go on the run for a few months, and then we'd come back.
After 8 years of getting high, Lori began doing something Mark had never seen her do.
She would open up the Bible and read the Bible to me while we were high and actually discuss the Bible and stories in the Bible. This went on for like 3 or 4 months before she finally got to the point that I'm not doing this anymore. Either you're coming to church with me or I'm going to leave you. And that's exactly the way she put it.
Lori was returning to the faith of her childhood. For fear of losing Lori, Mark went to church.
She got saved that first day. I thought we were just going to church. She took off up the aisle and gave her life to Jesus. And the next like 3 weeks, I seen changes in her I hadn't seen in her in 8 years.
The change in Lori made Mark want to give his life to Jesus too.
I sat in the back of the church and I just was having conversations with God and Satan. And I just told him, I said, devil, I know you're real. But God, if you're really up there, if you're really a God, if you're really Jesus, if you're there, you know, and I opened up my mouth and I asked him, I said, if you're real, I can use a change. And when I did, all the electricity in the building, the PA system, and everything shut off.
But Mark knew he had his answer and could hardly wait until the end.
When he did the altar call, I just took off and went down the aisle and up to him.
Mark gave his life to Christ. And as for the drugs,
gone, done, over with, never again, didn't want it no more. We went back home that day and I remember finding drugs and stuff in my house and I poured it down the toilet and stuff and flushed everything, alcohol, the whole 9 yards.
Today, Mark and Lori share the message of Christ with people who can't break the cycle of drug abuse. He and Lori now have 3 sons. Mark is also reunited with his daughter, and he's thankful that God has changed his life.
When I got up first in the morning, every morning, I did a line or a smoke pot, but that's what I did when I first got up. Now when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is talk to Jesus. I read by a word. Everything is built on a relationship, not a religion. It's all about Jesus.